The Department of Education, which really should be renamed the Department of Brainwashing the Youth, is closed today. Staff got a memo yesterday telling them, don't even bother coming in, because half of them aren't even going to have a job anymore after yesterday anyway. There is no need for a Department of Education, especially when the United States ranks so low on the list of test scores compared to other countries around the world, and the decisions about what should be taught in the schools should really be with the states, or actually rather with the local communities. Here's neocon Bill Kristol, who pretends to be a Republican, even though he just complains about everything that Donald Trump does, many years ago saying that the Department of Education was completely worthless and should be shut down. But of course, he is crying about this as being more fascism.
I was chief of staff at the education department. I had to designate the essential employees when we shut down, and we designated. I joked to Bill Bennett, who was my boss, we just say that no one at the education department is essential. In all honesty,
he was the chief of staff at the Department of Education and admits that it is useless. So hopefully by the end of the week, President Trump will lay off the other 50% of the bureaucrats there. The liberal lunatics are so upset at waste, fraud, and abuse being identified and cut that they are vandalizing Tesla cars and Cybertrucks at dealerships and just parked along the side of the road in people's driveways across the country. Every few days now, we're seeing headlines like this. Colorado Tesla dealership vandalized with offensive graffiti, broken glass, and third attack in 2 weeks. Tesla Cybertruck vandalized in Redwood City. Multiple Cybertrucks vandalized outside of Tesla store. This was just yesterday. Cybertrucks vandalized with anti-Musk messages at Linwood Tesla dealership. And before the Democrat Party became infected with wokeness and they transitioned from caring about the working class to catering to the non-American illegal criminal invaders who they've welcomed here, they actually did care about cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. Here's Chuck Schumer back in 2010.
If we're going to eliminate the waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare, it does mean we're going to cut some of that out. And when I hear my friend Dave Camp say, you cannot cut money out of Medicare, well, we don't want to cut the good stuff that you point out. 1/3 of Medicare doesn't go to patient care. You can't just get up there and say, we don't want to cut anything out of Medicare. We want to cut the bad stuff and keep the good stuff.
So these days, when the Democrats accuse President Trump and Elon Musk of trying to cut Medicare, they're talking about the waste, fraud, and abuse, the payments that are going to hospitals and doctors and other pharmaceutical companies, not actually to the people, to the patients themselves.
We cannot keep our promises on Medicare. We simply must make the cuts in waste, fraud, and abuse in Medicare so that the benefits and the premiums are untouched.
Wow.
We owe it to our seniors. We owe it to our country.
What say you, crazy Bernie?
There is no question that there is an enormous amount of waste and fraud and abuse in this government. There is no question to my mind that Congress has not been vigilant enough in rooting out that waste and fraud to the tune of billions and billions of dollars.
Even the Clown News Network admits that the majority of Americans are happy with DOGE discovering and cutting the waste, fraud, and abuse.
About when we're talking about the cuts that DOGE is bringing about. How are they feeling about
Yeah, this to me was one of the more shocking figures that I saw. Made me go, wait a minute, hold on one second. Whoa, Americans on Trump and Joe's efforts. Musk and DOGE should influence government spending and operations. Look at this. 54%. The majority say that he and they should. How about approve of Trump trying to cut staff at government agencies? Again, you get a majority here. 51%. So yeah, Elon Musk might not be that popular, but these cuts and the idea of spending cuts, at least within the federal government and cutting at government agencies, that actually has majority support. I was truly surprised by this, Kate, but the numbers are the numbers.
I was surprised too because we know how moronic Democrats are, but it turns out that some of them even don't want their tax dollars being wasted. And now the U.S. debt clock that tracks not just the total national debt, but how much per citizen. That means any newborn baby that was just born 2 seconds ago owes over $107,000. Debt per taxpayer now over $323,000. But they've also included now the DOGE clock showing how much money DOGE has saved, not just in total, but also per taxpayer. When now we're up to almost $1,700 a person. But despite polls and common sense revealing that the vast majority of Americans oppose allowing transgender women to compete in women's sports, many leftist lunatics still are standing their ground, especially over at Lunatic Central, ABC's The View, which had Dylan Mulvaney as a guest.
When you come in and you say, oh, these are men, competing against women, you're assuming that the women are weak and just can't do anything except be here. Have you seen female athletes? They know what they're doing.
Oh, we've seen them all right. I mean, how could you forget the clips of the WNBA that have been going viral now that the liberal media is trying to make that into a mainstream sport? Yes, there you go. Oh, whoopsie. Maybe this time? No. Let's do a quick comparison to the NBA, shall we? A real sport. There he goes. Yeah, Michael Jordan. This Family Guy segment perfectly summed up the WNBA.
And at the top of the second half, it's 16-9. Easton leads the scoring with 4.
And that's why she commands $7,000 a year. These gals sure do make it look difficult.
But is having this minor skill worth being so unattractive? That's for the fan to decide. Yay!
Maybe the old bags on The View should have Serena Williams on to explain the obvious to them.
Men's tennis and women's tennis are completely almost two separate sports. So I'm like, if I were to play Andy Murray, I would lose 6-0, 6-0 in 5 to 6 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Because no, it's true. It's true. It's a completely different sport. The men are a lot faster, and they serve harder, they hit harder. It's just a different game, and I love to play women's tennis, and I only want to play girls because I don't want to be embarrassed. I would not do the tour. I wouldn't do Billie Jean any justice. So Andy, stop it.
She doesn't want to be embarrassed, but sadly it goes far beyond that for the high school and college girls, and even in other professional sports. It puts them at danger, not to mention they lose various scholarship opportunities and awards. Such a contrast from the Biden administration. Donald Trump signs an executive order banning trans women from women's sports, doing what the vast majority of the American people want, doing what is in tune with the natural order, doing what is in tune with common sense. But there still is a lot of work to do. We need to shame people like this back in the closet.
Hello, my name is Bridget Bandit, and I'm speaking in opposition to SB 18. I'm a born and raised Texan and full-time drag queen. Previously, I have worked with children throughout my life as a swim instructor.
Call the FBI.
Teaching summer art camps, hosting children's birthday parties, and volunteering in my church as a youth group leader.
The Church of Satan, obviously.
Today, I occasionally host drag queen story times. These kinds of events don't differ much from the kind of work I did before, yet this bill would impact my ability to work with children simply based on a subjective and ill-defined expectation of how I should look.
Keeping you away from children is the point. And speaking of transgender people, Jim Acosta has fled the country and moved over to Ireland.
And I'm here in Ireland, and it's beautiful and warm, not physically, it's actually quite cold. Moved here on January 15th, and it's been pretty wonderful, I have to say. The people are so loving and so kind, so welcoming, and I'm very grateful.
More celebrities need to follow in Rosie Acosta's footsteps and actually do what it is that they said. Remember when they actually declared that they were going to leave the country if President Trump won? Well, you know what? At least this person, whatever their preferred pronouns are, actually followed through.
And that's what's going on, and that's where I've been and what I've been doing. And
well, that's all we needed to know. Thank you for leaving us alone. And thank you to my Locals subscribers. If you haven't joined yet, just click the link in the description below. It's a way to sponsor my page for $5 a month and get access to the private Locals blog. It's like a private Facebook page for members only. It's where I post all the commentary, video clips, and other things that are just a little bit too hot for the mainstream big tech platforms. So head on over to markdice.locals.com or click the link in the description below and check it out.